Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is Six Path Weeb, and you're tuned into another deep dive into the shinobi world. Today's topic: what if Naruko had mastered the Flying Raijin technique early on? Part 2. Before we jump in, a quick disclaimer. This content is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage used in this video. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's get into it. What kind of chaos, or brilliance, would unfold if Naruko mastered one of the most iconic spacetime jutsu from an early age? Let's find out. But sensei, we already did survival training in the academy, Sakura pointed out politely. Yes, but this one is different, Kakashi explained with a calm tone. The graduation exam you took was more of a basic screening. The real evaluation is left to your jounin instructor. In other words, this is a make it or break it exam to determine whether you're truly ready to become Jonin. Out of the 27 students who pass the academy, only 1/3 will officially become ninja. So this test has a high difficulty level. His students blinked in surprise. See? I told you this wouldn't be easy, Kakashi chuckled. We'll begin tomorrow at 7 a.m. and skip breakfast. You might end up feeling uneasy if you do. With that, he vanished using a swift movement technique. The next morning, Team 7 arrived 10 minutes early. But Kakashi didn't show up until 11:15. Good morning, everyone, he greeted with a relaxed wave. You're late. Naruko and Sakura exclaimed together. Well. A black cat crossed my path, so I decided to take the scenic route, Kakashi said playfully. He was well known for his habitual tardiness, except during real emergencies. Yeah, sure, Naruko mumbled skeptically. Kakashi set a small alarm clock to go off at noon. Now, let me explain the rules, he said, holding up 2 bells. Your objective is to take these bells from me. The one who doesn't get a bell will be tied to the stump while the others eat lunch nearby. That person will also be sent back to the academy. If none of you get a bell, all of you will return for more training. You'll need to give it your all, strategically and skillfully. I expect you to use every trick you've learned. But sensei, isn't that kind of intense? Sakura asked, concerned. Hey, this'll be a breeze. Naruko grinned confidently. He couldn't even dodge that eraser yesterday. Kakashi smiled beneath his mask. Often, those who underestimate the challenge are the ones who learn the biggest lessons. Just don't take it personally if things don't go your way. The word fail didn't sit well with Naruko, and she quickly pulled out a kunai, ready to charge. But before she could even react, Kakashi was already behind her, gently holding her arm and resting a hand on her head. Wow. He moved so fast, I couldn't even see it. Sasuke thought, wide-eyed. Hold on now, I haven't said start yet, Kakashi chuckled. But I like your enthusiasm. That's the kind of energy I'm looking for. He released Naruko, who turned back around. Alright then, begin. At his command, Sasuke and Sakura quickly disappeared into the trees. Kakashi tilted his head, surprised to see Naruko still standing in the open. You're not hiding? Nope. I'm taking you on one-on-one, Naruko declared proudly. Very well then. Shinobi tactic number 1, taijutsu, Kakashi said as he pulled out his favorite book. Wait, a book? Are you even taking me seriously? Naruko exclaimed. Go ahead and attack, Kakashi replied calmly. Even while reading, I doubt I'll be caught off guard. Frustrated at being underestimated, Naruko dashed toward him. She leapt with a punch aimed at his head, but Kakashi effortlessly caught it. She then spun low for a kick, which he dodged smoothly. Naruko used the momentum to swing back around and launched another punch, only to find empty space. Behind you. Sakura called out, giving away her hiding spot. Too late. You should always keep track of your opponent, Kakashi said, using a playful technique that launched Naruko gently into the river with a comical poke. Splash. Kakashi returned to his book. He stays alert even against Naruko, Sasuke thought, impressed. I'm getting those bells no matter what, Naruko declared, swimming to shore. She threw 2 shuriken, but Kakashi easily caught them. Then, suddenly, 7 Narukos emerged from the river, all charging at once. 7 of her? Those are solid clones. Sakura thought in amazement. When did Naruko learn something so advanced? Sasuke wondered. So it's true, you can use the shadow clone jutsu, Kakashi said, putting away his book. Just then, one Naruko leapt onto his back. Never let your opponent get behind you. Good advice, sensei, you should take it too, Naruko said with a clever grin. As a clone launched a punch, it hit another clone instead. Poof. It vanished, and the others followed, leaving Naruko alone once more. Nearby, she noticed a bell by a tree. Huh? I must have surprised him enough that he dropped one, she said cheerfully and reached for it. But as she bent down, whisk. She was pulled upward by a trap. If something seems too easy, it probably is, Kakashi advised kindly. And remember, always think your actions through before using a technique. I get it. Naruko called out. You think you do, but understanding and applying it are two different things, Kakashi smiled. Just then, Sasuke attacked from another angle, hurling kunai and shuriken. Kakashi was hit, until poof. He vanished. Substitution jutsu. He tricked me. Sasuke realized, quickly relocating. Oh, where did he go? Where is Sasu? Did he see me? Sakura wondered as she ran in pursuit of Sasuke. She suddenly stopped upon seeing Kakashi nearby. VSST. Sakura, whispered a voice. She turned to see a wall of leaves in front of her. Suddenly feeling lightheaded, Sakura collapsed gently to the ground. She woke up shortly after, confused about what had happened. Sakura, called out a familiar voice. Sakura turned around quickly with excitement, but her expression changed to surprise. There was Sasuke, leaning against a tree, looking exhausted and worn out from the training session. His posture was unsteady, and he seemed to be struggling to stay upright. Ah, Sakura exclaimed in shock, before fainting again. Shinobi training skill number 2, Genjutsu, illusions. Perhaps that one was a bit intense, Kakashi commented thoughtfully. But she just needs to learn to see through it. He turned and walked off to check on Sasuke. HN? That was Sakura. Genjutsu, Sasuke muttered, quickly realizing the situation. It's just a mental trick. Well, I'm not like the others, you won't get me that easily, he added confidently, aware Kakashi was nearby. Hup. Finally got down from that second trap, Naruko said with a small grin, after managing to escape another snare. Now, I should be able to sense everyone within a 10-foot radius of that seal I placed near the bell. Indeed, she could tell Kakashi was currently engaged with Sasuke. Perfect. Once Sensei finishes with Sasuke, it's my turn to shine, Naruko whispered as she hid among the branches, ready to make her move. Say that after you actually get a bell. My Sasuke, Kakashi teased lightheartedly. Sasuke responded by quickly throwing 3 kunai at Kakashi, who skillfully dodged them. Standard tactics won't work on me, Kakashi thought, watching Sasuke activate a hidden trap. More projectiles launched from a rope mechanism, embedding themselves into a nearby tree. Sasuke then appeared behind Kakashi and launched a spinning kick with his left leg. Kakashi blocked it and grabbed his leg. Sasuke followed up with a punch, which was also caught. Then, twisting his body mid-air, he attempted another strike. Kakashi blocked again, maintaining control. Seizing the opportunity, Sasuke reached for one of the bells, brushing it before Kakashi backed away. Sasuke quickly performed hand signs. Fire style, fireball jutsu. He called out. Kakashi was surprised. Wait, Genin typically don't have the chakra control for fire style techniques. He thought as flames engulfed the area. When the smoke cleared, Kakashi had vanished. Where did he go? Sasuke wondered. From below, Kakashi's voice echoed, Earth style, headhunter jutsu. And suddenly, Sasuke was partially pulled into the ground, leaving only his head visible above the surface. I'll admit, you've got talent. But being different isn't always easy, Kakashi remarked calmly. Sometimes, those who stand out face the most challenges. Anyway, enjoy the puzzle, digging yourself out. With a chuckle, he walked back toward the starting point. Moments later, Sakura came running through the trees and froze upon seeing Sasuke's head sticking out of the ground. Sakura? Sasuke called out. Ah. Sasuke's head is. It's. Talking? She gasped, startled, before fainting once more. A little later, Sakura woke up to see Sasuke standing above her, having freed himself. Sasuke. She cheered, hugging him in relief. All right, Sasuke said, gently pushing her back. I still need to get that bell. You're still trying? Sakura asked. I touched one earlier. Really? That's amazing, Sasuke. Sakura praised. Unbelievable. I'm never going to get a bell, her inner self thought in dismay. Meanwhile, as Kakashi made his way back to the starting point, he paused, sensing something behind him. He turned, but saw nothing. Must have been my imagination. I wonder if Naruko found the lunches I left near the memorial stone yet, he mused, unaware that one of the bells was now missing. Ha ha. I got one, Naruko whispered happily to herself, clutching the bell. Sensei didn't even notice. Just like with Iruka-sensei, when I placed a tag on him without him realizing. Flashback. Naruko, you need to run, don't let him get the scroll, Iruka whispered. Just before running, Naruko gently tapped Iruka's elbow, leaving behind a subtle seal, the mark of the Flying Thunder technique. End flashback. Guess that means I pass. Hee, Naruko said cheerfully. Back with Sakura and Sasuke, Sakura looked discouraged. Sasuke, there's hardly any time left. Maybe we should try again next year? No, Sasuke replied firmly. I've come too far to give up now. Irfiving. The bell signaling the end of the test rang out. Let's go back, Sasuke said quietly, his eyes focused. Back by the tree stumps, everyone had gathered, ready to hear Kakashi's decision. But before he could begin, "Hey, Kakashi-sensei," Naruko called out, catching his attention. Holding up a small bell with a cheerful grin, she asked, "Since I got a bell, that means I pass, right?" Everyone turned to look at her with wide eyes, completely stunned. How in the world did she manage to get a bell? Was the shared thought running through everyone's mind. "Naruko, how did you get a bell without me noticing?" Kakashi asked, clearly surprised. Hee. A ninja should keep some secrets, right, sensei? Naruko replied playfully, not quite ready to reveal her technique. That's all I'm going to get from you, isn't it? Yup. Well then, to answer your question, Naruko, no, you don't pass. Because you missed the entire point of the exercise. None of you truly understood what this was about. It was all about something very simple, teamwork. If all of you had worked together, more than one person could have gotten a bell, Kakashi explained. But there were only 2 bells, sensei, Sakura pointed out. Exactly. I set it up so you would all be tempted to compete with each other. The goal was to look beyond personal gain. Naruko, you acted completely on your own. Even though you managed to get a bell, you didn't cooperate with the others. Sakura, you were too distracted, worrying about where Sasuke was, even though Naruko was right in front of you. Sasuke, you were convinced that the others couldn't help you, so you tried to handle it alone. See that stone over there? Some of my closest friends' names are engraved on it. They were brave shinobi who gave everything for their teammates. What does it mean, sensei? Naruko asked curiously. It means they honored their mission and their comrades, even in the most difficult times, Sakura answered softly. I'll give you one last chance, Kakashi continued. Naruko, eat your lunch. But you are not to share with the others. If you do, you'll be sent back to the academy. Naruko looked at the food, then at her teammates, and shook her head firmly. No way. We're a team. If we don't take care of each other, how can we work together? It's better if we all stay strong. She's right. We're in this together, Sasuke agreed. Yeah, Sakura nodded, a bit surprised to find herself siding with Naruko. The 3 of us are one unit. The 3 of you are one? Kakashi repeated, appearing unimpressed at first. Yes, the 3 said in unison. Kakashi was silent for a moment before his expression softened, an eye-crinkle smile forming under his mask. All right then. You 3 pass. Huh? They all said, surprised. You're the first team to pass my test, Kakashi said with a thumbs up. Everyone else just followed instructions without question. But you understood the bigger lesson. Those who break the rules are considered reckless. But those who abandon their teammates have lost sight of what really matters. Squad 7, your first mission starts tomorrow. It had been about 2 weeks since the bell test, and Naruko was starting to feel a bit restless. Not only had she not gone on any thrilling missions, but their sensei, Kakashi, had only been focusing on teamwork exercises. That alone wouldn't have bothered her so much, but what really tested her patience was the way Sakura, mostly speaking on Sasuke's behalf, kept pestering her about how she had managed to grab a bell. Naruko wasn't showing it on the outside, but the constant questioning was getting under her skin. She didn't feel comfortable sharing the details of her technique yet, especially since she wasn't sure she could trust anyone with it. At the moment, Team 7 was on yet another routine mission. Their task? Catch the feudal lord's wife's beloved pet cat, Tora. Can you see the target? Kakashi asked through the communicator. Yeah, I'm about 5 meters away. Just say the word, Naruko replied, crouched and focused. Alright. Go. Kakashi signaled. With the order given, all 3 members of the team sprang into action, surrounding the feline. Naruko's role was to safely capture it once cornered. She was relieved they had finally caught it, but less thrilled when Tora reacted by climbing her like a tree, its claws more enthusiastic than she would have liked. Got. Uck. The cat. Ouch. Naruko reported, trying to keep her composure. Good. Can you confirm the red ribbon on its right ear? Kakashi asked. Yeah, it's there, Sasuke confirmed. Well done, team. Mission retrieve lost pet is complete, Kakashi said calmly. With the task finished, they returned to the mission hall to report and receive their next assignment, likely another standard mission. Let's see, said the third Hokage, browsing the available requests. We have a fence that needs painting, weeds that need pulling, and a child who needs babysitting. No way. I want a real mission, not another chore. Naruko interrupted, clearly exasperated. Listen, Naruko, the Hokage said kindly. Every day, we receive a variety of missions. They are ranked by difficulty, from simple tasks to more complex assignments. As a Genin fresh out of the academy, ranked missions are meant to help you gain experience. But I've grown so much already. I'm not that prank-loving kid anymore, I want to take on something that actually challenges me, Naruko insisted, crossing her arms. Hey, Naruko. You shouldn't speak to Lord Hokage that way. It's important to show respect, Iruka said, sitting nearby. It's alright, Iruka, Hiruzen said with a small smile. Naruko's just eager to prove she's matured, perhaps no longer mischievous, but a young ninja ready to grow. Sigh, I can already imagine how this is going to go, Kakashi thought to himself. Still, a C-rank mission might be a good way to see how she really got that bell. Very well, the third Hokage said at last. Team 7 responded in surprise. Send in the client for Squad 7's next mission, the Hokage instructed. A man entered the room, looking to be around 59 years old. He wore glasses, a dark gray v-neck shirt, khaki pants, a towel around his neck, and a pointy hat. He leaned on the doorframe, holding a bottle, and gave the team a critical look. So, these are the ones who are supposed to protect me? They seem a little inexperienced, especially the small one with the unusual expression, he said bluntly. Naruko frowned, knowing he was talking about her, but she held back any response, choosing not to let the comment affect her. Kazuna, I assure you, the Hokage replied calmly, they are more than capable of handling any trouble you may encounter. I'm also a Jounin, Kakashi added, you'll be well protected. Alright then, Tazuna said, still a bit skeptical. I'll be counting on you to keep me safe. Understood. Team, meet at the village gate in 2 hours, Kakashi instructed before disappearing with a swift movement. Squad 7 had departed the village gate about 3 hours ago. The road had been quiet, and Sakura finally decided to break the silence. Curiosity got the better of her. So, Tazuna, where are you from, and what exactly do you do? She asked politely. I'm from the land of waves, Tazuna replied. I'm a bridge builder by profession, one of the best, if I may say so. Sakura turned to their instructor. Kakashi-sensei, aren't there ninja in the land of waves? Why did they need help from our village? Kakashi glanced up from his book, although it seemed like he hadn't really been reading. In truth, he was still trying to figure out how Naruko had managed to get one of the bells during their training exercise. It was still bothering him. No, not really, Kakashi replied. The land of waves is naturally protected by the sea, so they don't see the need for a standing military. Let me explain about the 5 great nations, their hidden villages, and the Kijis who lead them. He went on for a bit, giving them all a refresher on the major ninja villages. As they walked, Kakashi noticed something peculiar, a puddle on the path, even though it hadn't rained in weeks. As they passed it, 2 figures suddenly sprang from the puddle. One of them leapt forward and used a chain to wrap around Kakashi. That's one, said one of the masked strangers, grinning. Before anyone could react, it seemed as if Kakashi had been taken down. The others froze for a moment. The same ninja turned toward Naruko with the intent to strike. That makes 2, he said, dashing toward her. Before he could reach her, Sasuke acted quickly. He jumped into the air, launching a shuriken that flew with such force it pinned the chain to a nearby tree. He followed up by throwing a kunai, locking the chain in place to prevent them from using it again. Ugh, I'm stuck, grumbled the other attacker, struggling with the chain. Sasuke landed near them, using his momentum to disarm them with a well-placed kick. They broke free from the chain, but just as they regrouped, one of them rushed toward Naruko again while the other turned toward Tazuna. Sakura quickly stepped in front of Tazuna, holding a kunai defensively. Stay back, she warned, her voice steady with determination. Sasuke moved to stand in front of Sakura, clearly not convinced she could handle it alone. Sasuke? Sakura gasped in surprise, but before the attacker could reach them, Kakashi suddenly reappeared, completely unharmed, holding both of the masked ninja unconscious in his grasp. Show off, Sasuke thought to himself. Huh? Kakashi-sensei? Naruko and Sakura both blinked in confusion. They turned to where Kakashi had supposedly been hit, and saw only a shredded log. A substitution jutsu. They realized together. Tazuna let out a long breath. That was too close. Well done, Sasuke. Nice work, Sakura, Kakashi praised. Then he turned to Naruko. Sorry I didn't step in sooner. I didn't expect you to freeze up like that, but I'm glad you're okay. Why? Sasuke acted like he's done this 1,000 times. Even Sakura wasn't scared. Why was I the only one who froze up? Naruko thought, frustrated. Hey, you're not hurt, are you, scaredy cat? Sasuke teased with a smirk. Naruko frowned. Just wait, Sasuke. I'll prove myself, you'll see. She replied, her determination reigniting. She knew now wasn't the time to argue, though, the mission came first. Kakashi looked at the two attackers. These two are known as the Demon Brothers. They're former Chunin from the Hidden Mist Village, operating on their own now. They're persistent, which makes them a bit of a challenge. Then why did you let us deal with them if you were still around? Tazuna asked, a little shaken. I needed to know who their target was, Kakashi explained. Was it about a village conflict, or were they hired for something else? The restrained ninja with a single horn on his headband spoke up. How did you know we were there? A puddle in dry weather is a bit suspicious, don't you think? Kakashi answered calmly. Anyway, Tazuna, we need to talk. Tazuna gulped nervously. Why's that? You didn't mention any threats from ninja. This was supposed to be a low-risk mission, protecting you from ordinary thieves. Now, it's at least to be rank. That's outside the scope of what Jinan should be handling. I'm sure you have your reasons, but it changes things. This is too dangerous for us, Sakura said, clearly uneasy. Naruko froze when things got serious. I think we should return. Kakashi turned to Naruko, thoughtful. He knew Sakura had a point, but he also wanted to understand Naruko better. Sakura may be right. We should probably head back, Kakashi said, testing Naruko's resolve. So what if I froze once? Naruko said, stepping forward. That doesn't mean I'll freeze again. I'll protect Tazuna, no matter what. That's a promise. All right, Kakashi said. Let's take Tazuna to the border. We'll take the boat into the land of waves. Once we get there, he can explain everything, and I'll make a final decision then. Let's move. When they reached the border, a friend of Tazuna's helped them across by boat. Almost at the bridge, Kakashi asked, So, Tazuna, care to explain now? You're right, Tazuna said. This mission is way beyond Jinan level. About a year ago, a very wealthy man started taking over all our shipping companies. His name is Gato. I'm sure you've heard of him. Gato? The shipping magnate? Kakashi asked. One of the richest people in the world? Yes, that's him. Outwardly, he looks like a successful businessman. But in reality, he's been secretly involved in harmful activities and black market dealings. He's been making life miserable for everyone in our country. This bridge is our only hope to connect with the mainland and rebuild. That still doesn't explain why you lied, Kakashi said calmly. Because no one back home has any money, Tazuna admitted. Even the feudal lord is struggling. If this bridge is completed, it could change everything. But until then, I couldn't afford a higher ranked mission. I had to take the chance. So Gato wants to stop you to protect his control, Sakura realized. If we stop now, things will only get worse. But don't worry, my grandson will just cry his heart out, and my daughter will be heartbroken. That's all. Tazuna tried to smile, clearly hoping for some sympathy. Kakashi sighed. Well, I suppose we'll have to continue the mission, then. I win, Tazuna thought to himself, relieved. Once they arrived on land, they gratefully thanked Tazuna's friend and continued on to Tazuna's home. This time, They won't just send a Chunin. It'll be a Jonin, Kakashi thought, concern crossing his mind. And what is Naruko's secret? How in the world did she manage to get that bell? Eager to prove herself, Naruko scanned the area carefully for any signs of other shinobi, even if there weren't any. There! She thought, hurling a kunai into the bushes. Her sudden action startled both Tazuna and Sakura. Probably just a mouse or something, Naruko said, trying to sound nonchalant. There was nothing there, and you know it, Sakura scolded her. Hey kid, are you trying to scare me out of my wits? Tazuna added, clutching his chest. Rustle, Naruko heard another sound from a different bush and immediately threw another kunai. Naruko, stop that already, Sakura shouted, tapping her lightly on the head in frustration. But Sakura, this time there was something, Naruko insisted as she walked over to the bush to check. There, she found a white rabbit and gently picked it up. That's a snow rabbit, but it's spring. Its fur should be brown, meaning it was likely raised in captivity. For a substitution technique, Kakashi observed, his eyes narrowing. He suddenly sensed something approaching. Get down, he commanded. Everyone dropped to the ground just as a massive sword spun out from the trees, embedding itself in a tree trunk. A man landed gracefully atop the blade. He had black hair, brown eyes, and wore the typical Mist Village attire. His headband, bearing the village symbol, was tied around the side of his head. If it isn't Zabuza Momochi, the rogue ninja and former member of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, Kakashi said calmly, recognizing him immediately. Naruko was about to leap into action, but Kakashi stopped her with a raised hand. Everyone stay back. This is someone I'll have to handle myself, he said, beginning to lift his headband. So, Kakashi the copy ninja, Zabuza said, smirking. The one who has supposedly copied over 1,000 jutsu. The wielder of the Sharingan. Sharingan? What's that? Wondered both Naruko and Sakura. Sasuke's eyes widened. Sharingan? Formation around Tazuna. Manji formation, Kakashi commanded. You'll have to get through me first, Zabuza. Oh, showing me the Sharingan already? I'm honored, Zabuza said. Let's begin, shall we? With that, he vanished and appeared atop the water. Ninja art, hidden mist jutsu. A thick fog began to roll in. The Jinan formed a protective circle around Tazuna as Zabuza vanished from view. He'll aim for me first, Kakashi warned. He was part of the Mist's elite squad, known for a technique that strikes without a sound. You won't even know he's there. Zabuza's voice echoed from the mist, 8 points. Where to strike first? The eerie voice made the Jinan tense. Hey! One of them is already trembling, Zabuza commented, referring to Sasuke. Kakashi raised his chakra, dispersing some of the mist. The intense pressure from the presence of 2 elite shinobi overwhelmed Sasuke. This is what a Jonin's presence feels like. It's intense, Sasuke thought, struggling to steady himself before Kakashi reassured him. Sasuke, stay calm. I'll protect all of you, Kakashi said kindly. You know you can't promise that, Zabuza's voice teased from every direction. Suddenly, he appeared between the Jinan and Tazuna. I've got the old man now. But Kakashi moved swiftly and struck. Yet, to everyone's surprise, Zabuza turned into a puddle of water. It was a clone. Nice try, the real Zabuza said as he appeared and slashed through Kakashi, only to find out that was also a clone. You already copied my technique and waited in hiding. Impressive. It's over, Zabuza, Kakashi declared. Not quite, Zabuza said, appearing behind him. The clone dissolved, and Zabuza attacked. Kakashi ducked, avoiding the blow, but was kicked and pushed back. He attempted to retreat into the water, but Zabuza blocked him with spikes. This water. It feels heavier than usual, Kakashi muttered as he surfaced. Too late. Zabuza appeared behind him, forming hand signs. Water style, water prison jutsu. Kakashi was trapped in a swirling sphere of water. Now, time for the kids, Zabuza said, creating a water clone to approach the Jinan. You all wear those headbands proudly, but do you even know what it means to be a ninja? He questioned. What do you mean? Naruko asked. He's known as the Phantom of the Mist, Kakashi said. About 10 years ago, during the graduation exams in the Mist, there was a terrible event, Kakashi explained. The rules were very different. Imagine having to face your best friend. And being forced to fight for your future, Zabuza said coldly. Naruko gasped as Zabuza's clone kicked her aside, knocking off her headband. She scrambled back up and spotted it on the ground. You call yourselves ninja? Zabuza scoffed. You haven't experienced true hardship. You're just beginners. Naruko clenched her fists. I may be a beginner, but I'll never give up. Shadow clone jutsu, she shouted, creating multiple copies of herself. Shadow clones, huh? Impressive for a young shinobi, Zabuza admitted. That's a high-level technique. Naruko and her clones charged, piling on Zabuza's clone, but it easily dispersed them. Naruko, you can't take on a Jonin alone, Sakura cried out, then noticed Naruko had retrieved her headband. Wait. Is that why? You need to get out of here with Tazuna, Kakashi shouted. I'm trapped. Naruko turned to Zabuza with a confident smirk. Hey. Remember this, the one who never gives up, and who's going to be Hokage one day, her name is Naruko Uzumaki. Sasuke, I have a plan, she whispered. Let's hear it, Sasuke responded. Zabuza advanced and struck down Sasuke. Sasuke. Sakura called, worried. Shadow clone jutsu, Naruko cried again. This time, the clones moved to rescue Sasuke, while Naruko dug into her bag and tossed 2 items toward him. Sasuke caught one, a folded shuriken. Nice one, Naruko, he thought, leaping into the air. Demon Wind Shuriken, Windmill of Shadows. He threw it at the original Zabuza. Going for me now, huh? Not bad. But not enough, Zabuza said, catching the shuriken. Then, he noticed another one hidden in its shadow. A second shuriken? This is the shadow shuriken technique. Zabuza dodged, but... Poof. Take this, Naruko shouted, transforming back from her disguise and throwing a kunai. Zabuza dodged again, but was grazed slightly and had to release Kakashi. Naruko's kunai had a smoke bomb attached, and another burst of smoke came from her own escape into the water. Naruko used the cover to leap out and land a kick on Zabuza. Gotcha, she said with a playful grin, floating in the water. You didn't expect that, did you? You little. Zabuza grumbled, trying to retaliate, but Kakashi blocked his attack. Well done, Naruko, Sasuke, Kakashi said with a proud smile. Now it's time to finish this. Zabuza and Kakashi both leapt apart and began forming hand signs. Water style, water dragon jutsu. They both shouted, creating massive dragons that clashed and cancelled each other out. So fast. Is he really copying them all? Sasuke thought in awe. Zabuza ran in a circle with Kakashi, trying to keep track of his moves, but Kakashi matched him perfectly. He's reading my thoughts? Zabuza wondered. And it's really bothering you, isn't it? Kakashi replied smoothly, continuing to mirror Zabuza's movements. Water style, giant vortex jutsu, Kakashi shouted, ending the sequence with a powerful wave. What? That can't be. I was about to use the same technique. How is she this fast? Zabuza thought, right before being hit by the jutsu. The force sent Zabuza flying into a tree. Kakashi landed gracefully on a branch above. Zabuza looked up at him, wide-eyed. How? Can you see what's about to happen? Yes, and I can see this battle is over, Kakashi said calmly, pulling out a kunai. But before he could make another move, 2 senbone needles flew through the air and struck Zabuza, rendering him motionless as he fell to the ground with a soft thump. Thank you for your assistance. A voice called from a nearby tree. A young shinobi stood on a branch, his appearance refined with long black hair, a slender frame, and a green haori with white trim over the standard Kirigakure uniform. A brown sash was tied neatly around his waist, and he wore a distinct mask with red markings. Kakashi jumped down to assess the situation. He checked Zabuza carefully and noticed no movement. I appreciate your help. I've been waiting for the right time to intervene. The young shinobi said, respectfully bowing. That mask. You're a tracker ninja from the hidden mist. Kakashi noted aloud. Judging by your voice and height, you must be close in age to Naruko. And already a tracker? He thought, surprised. Yes, that's correct. The shinobi replied. Wait, what's a tracker? Naruko asked curiously. Maybe if you'd stayed awake in class, you'd know, Sakura teased gently. Trackers are ninja trained to find those who've left their village without permission. That is my role. I must go now, but thank you once again. Farewell, said the boy as he carefully lifted Zabuza's body and vanished with a flicker. Looks like the toughest part of the mission is behind us, Kakashi said, sliding his headband back over his eye. Thank you for protecting me. You all can stay at my house until the mission is complete. It's the least I can do, Tazuna offered kindly. Naruko, just howdy, Kakashi began to say, but then collapsed from exhaustion. Kakashi-sensei. The three teammates called out in concern. What's wrong with sensei? Naruko asked anxiously. Sakura rushed to his side and checked his condition. He's okay. He must have just used too much chakra. Let's get him to my house so he can rest properly, Tazuna said. Naruko and Sasuke carefully lifted Kakashi and followed him toward the house. Kakashi awoke, recognizing the interior of Tazuna's home. Hey everyone, sensei's awake. Naruko called, alerting the others. How are you feeling, sensei? Sakura asked. A bit tired. I'm still not used to using the Sharingan for extended periods, Kakashi replied, sitting up slowly. Maybe next time, pace yourself, said a calm voice. A young woman walked in with long, dark blue hair, wearing a pink blouse and a blue skirt that reached her calves. I'm Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter. Thank you for letting us stay here during the mission, Kakashi said sincerely. Tsunami nodded with a gentle smile before heading to the kitchen. Just then, Tazuna entered the room. Meanwhile, far away, the young tracker gently prepared to remove Zabuza's bandages. But suddenly, Zabuza stirred and gripped his wrist. That's enough. I'll do it myself, Zabuza muttered, sitting up and adjusting the bandages. You didn't need to aim for my neck like that, Haku. That was intense. The neck provides a quick response. It's the most effective point when precision is required, Haku replied calmly, removing his mask. Despite being a boy, Haku's features were soft and graceful. Are you going to be alright if you face them again? Haku asked. Next time, I'll be more prepared for that Sharingan. But it's that young girl I'm curious about. I've never seen someone move that quickly, Zabuza said thoughtfully. Wasn't it just a basic teleportation jutsu? Haku asked. No. It was something else entirely. Something new. Zabuza replied. Back at Tazuna's house, Kakashi sat up suddenly, a serious look on his face. Sensei, what's wrong? Sakura asked. That tracker ninja. Do you remember the weapon he used? Kakashi asked. Senbone, Sasuke answered immediately. Exactly. Senbone are rarely harmful unless they strike very precise points, Kakashi said. Why does that matter? Sakura asked, puzzled. Tracker nin are trained to handle situations differently. Normally, they would ensure no trace of a body remains. If proof is needed, just the head is taken. Their knowledge of anatomy is extensive, Kakashi explained. It's possible that the one we saw wasn't really a tracker. And that Zabuza is still out there. Aren't you thinking a bit too deeply about this? I mean, that person was hit in the neck, Tazuna said. That's true. But someone highly skilled in using Senbone can create a state that mimics being unconscious by targeting specific points in the neck. None of the Senbone struck a major artery, which would typically be the easiest target. Also, I should mention that while Senbone can cause serious effects if they hit certain spots, it's very difficult to do if the individual is well trained and has developed strong muscle control, Kakashi explained. As he glanced over at his students, Kakashi noticed Sasuke remained calm, Sakura looked uneasy but tried to mask it, and Naruko seemed full of energy and curiosity. Oh boy, Naruko looks way too thrilled about this. Hopefully, this gives me a chance to figure out how she got the bell and managed to land a hit on Zabuza. If she doesn't explain it soon. It's going to drive me up the wall, Kakashi thought. Anyway, we can't ignore the possibility that Zabuza is still out there. Even if that's not the case, we still don't know whether Gato has already found someone else to try and stop you, Tazuna, Kakashi added. But sensei, if Zabuza is still around, wouldn't we be at a disadvantage with you injured like this? Sakura asked, concerned. Normally, yes. But if someone were placed in a state of unconsciousness like that, it would take about a week to recover. I'll also need about that long to rest. In the meantime, all of you will be training, Kakashi responded. Training? How is that supposed to help us? We don't stand a chance against someone like Zabuza and that masked person, Sakura exclaimed. Sakura, who was it that protected me back there? You three have improved, especially you, Naruko. You've come a long way, Kakashi praised. By the way, Naruko, how did you manage to hit Zabuza? He asked, genuinely curious. Naruko, caught off guard by the question but clearly pleased by the compliment, hesitated. Well he. She mumbled, not quite ready to share the details just yet. Hey, Grandpa, called a cheerful young boy running into the room. He had spiky black hair, dark eyes, and wore a green jumpsuit over a yellow shirt, along with a pair of sandals and a blue and white striped hat. Inari, Kazunao greeted warmly. These are the ninja who protected me on the way home. Say hi. Inari, clinging to his grandfather, looked at the group. Grandpa, can't you tell these people aren't strong enough to protect anything? He said bluntly. Inari. That's no way to speak to our guests, Tsunami scolded gently as she entered the room. It's all right. I joke around with them too, Tazuna said with a chuckle. Sigh honestly, you too. Anyway, dinner is ready, Tsunami announced. After dinner, Squad 7 followed Kakashi out into the forest. Though he still needed crutches, Kakashi guided them to a clearing surrounded by tall trees. All right. This is where your training begins, Kakashi said. Kakashi-sensei, what exactly are we going to be doing? Sakura asked. You'll be learning chakra control, Kakashi replied. But why, sensei? We already know how to use chakra. How will this help us with Zabuza? Naruko questioned. Naruko has a point. We already use chakra in our techniques, Sasuke added. Surprised that Sasuke agreed with Naruko, Kakashi continued, you've only just begun to understand chakra use. Up until now, you've been guessing how much chakra is needed for your jutsu to work. Using too much or too little can cause it to fail entirely. During a mission or in battle, you need to use your chakra precisely and efficiently. That's what this exercise will teach you. So what do we do? Sakura asked, eager to learn. I'll demonstrate, Kakashi said. He turned toward the nearest tree and carefully focused his chakra. With the help of his crutches, he began walking up the tree vertically. Whoa, he's walking up the tree. Naruko thought in amazement. Now that I think about it, I've always run out of chakra quickly using the Flying Raijin jutsu. If this training helps with chakra control, maybe I can use it way more often. Like 100 times. No, 1,000 times. Each of you choose a tree. Focus your chakra into the soles of your feet. That's the most challenging area to focus on, and mastering it could help you with any technique. Use your kunai to mark your highest point and keep trying to beat it, Kakashi explained, noticing Naruko's wide, determined eyes. The team picked trees and began their attempts. Naruko took a running start but fell back after only 2 steps. Oof. That hurt. She muttered, frustrated. Sasuke made it about 15 feet up before slipping. He quickly marked his place and landed gracefully. Humph. This really does require control, Sasuke thought. Pretty much what I expected from those two, Kakashi noted to himself. Hey. This is easy, Sakura shouted, smiling playfully. Nice job, Sakura, Naruko called out. Seriously? How is she so good at this? She thought, envious. Well, so much for the future Hokage and the famous Uchiha, huh? Kakashi teased gently, aiming to encourage them. Don't say that, Kakashi-sensei. Don't be mean to Sasuke. Sakura protested, not catching the motivation behind his words. Still, the results were what Kakashi hoped for. Naruko and Sasuke pushed themselves harder with renewed determination. Phew, I'm exhausted. How are they still going? Sakura thought aloud after an hour of practice. She glanced at Naruko. She hasn't made much progress at all. Any moment now, she's going to give up. Just as expected, Naruko flopped to the ground, sighing. So predictable. PSST, Sakura. Do you have any tips for me? Since you're so good at this? Just don't tell Sasuke, okay? Naruko asked quietly, sincerely wanting to improve. She's asking for help. She really is growing up, Kakashi thought with a small smile. Now, if only I knew how she managed to land that hit on Zabuza. In a quiet hideout nestled deep within the forest, inside what appeared to be a large treehouse, Zabuza rested on a bed, recovering. Bang! The door burst open as Gato stormed in with his 2 bodyguards, each carrying a sword. Resting up, are we, Zabuza? So much for being the Phantom of the Mist. Looks like you had a rough time, Gato remarked mockingly as he walked toward the bed. His tone turned aggressive as he reached for Zabuza, but Haku swiftly stepped in and placed a firm hand on Gato's arm. Please don't touch him, Haku said calmly, though his grip made it clear he meant business. The sound of swords being drawn echoed in the room, but in an instant, Haku appeared beside the two guards, holding their blades at bay. "You shouldn't threaten people when I'm already having a hard day," he warned with an intense gaze. Gato frowned but backed off. "Fine. One more chance. Don't fail," he said as he exited with his guards. "You didn't have to step in," Zabuza said, revealing a concealed kunai once they were alone. "I know. But acting too soon would only make things harder for us later," Haku replied. Zabuza sighed. "You're right." The next day, Sakura was assigned to protect Tazuna. She yawned and stretched as there wasn't much going on. "Are you always this relaxed?" Tazuna asked with a teasing smile. Sakura chuckled. "They're training. Since I'm the best, our sensei put me in charge of guarding you." "Sure, if you say so," Tazuna replied with a smirk, prompting Sakura to frown slightly. "Tazuna." Someone called from the distance. "What is it, Jaichi?" Tazuna turned to see one of his old friends. "I've been thinking. And I'm stepping away from the project," Jaichi said, looking regretful. "What? We're so close to finishing the bridge," Tazuna responded, clearly surprised. "I just don't want to take any more risks. I'm sorry. Maybe we should stop." Tazuna sighed and nodded. "It's already noon. Let's call it a day. Jaichi, you don't need to come back tomorrow." At home that evening, everyone finished their meal, and Tsunami began clearing the dishes. "Excuse me," Sakura said gently, "why is someone missing from this photo? You've been staring at it the whole meal, Inari." There was silence, but then Tsunami answered softly. "That was my husband. They used to call him a hero around here," added Tazuna. Without a word, Inari stood and walked away, closing the door behind him with a loud thump. "Inari, wait." Tsunami called after him. "You know it upsets him when we bring that up," she told her father, following Inari upstairs. "What's going on with him?" Sakura asked. "There's a story behind it," Kakashi said, intrigued. Tazuna explained that the man in the photo, Keiza, wasn't Inari's biological father, but Inari loved him deeply. Inari's father had passed when he was too young to remember. Keiza had been a source of inspiration and courage, a true hero to them. But when Keiza was taken away by Gato's influence, it left a deep sadness in Inari and in the hearts of many in the village. "That's when the word courage faded from this land," Tazuna said quietly. "And Inari hasn't been the same since." With a sudden thud, Naruko collapsed to the floor. "Naruko, where are you going?" Sakura called out. "You shouldn't train now. You need rest," Kakashi added. "I'm going to prove to that kid that heroes are real," Naruko declared as she headed out with determination. On the sixth morning of training, Naruko lay peacefully asleep in a forest clearing where she and her team had been practicing tree climbing. Nearby, Haku was foraging for herbs to help Zabuza recover. As he searched, he spotted Naruko and approached quietly. Haku knelt beside her, gently placing a hand over her shoulder. "Hey, wake up. You'll catch a chill if you stay out here." Naruko stirred. She blinked up at the soft-spoken figure. "Oh, hi there. What are you doing out here, sis?" "I'm gathering herbs to help a friend," Haku replied with a smile. "Mind if I help?" "Not at all." Half an hour passed, and Haku's basket was nearly full. "I couldn't help but notice you're a ninja," he said. "What are you training for?" "To become stronger," Naruko said with resolve. "You already seem strong. Isn't that enough?" "No. I want to be acknowledged. I need to prove something to someone important." "Ah, so it's for someone else," Haku said thoughtfully. Naruko looked confused. "Huh?" "I believe we become truly strong when we're protecting someone we care about," Haku explained. Naruko thought about Iruka, Inari, and Keiza's story. "Yeah. I get it now. That makes sense," she said with her signature bright smile. "You'll grow even stronger someday," Haku said as he stood up to leave. "See you around, sis," Naruko called. Haku paused. "Actually, I'm a boy." "What?" Naruko blinked in disbelief. "He's even prettier than Sakura or Hinata. How is that possible?" "Pop. Ow. What was that for, Sasuke?" "You missed breakfast," Sasuke replied coolly as they began training once more. Later that evening, Kakashi, Sakura, and Tazuna were sitting at the table waiting for Sasuke and Naruko to return. "Can I ask something?" Tazuna said. "Go ahead," Kakashi replied. "Why are you all still helping me, even after I wasn't fully honest about the mission. To walk away from your duty isn't courageous. And where there is no courage, there's nothing beneath, Kakashi said calmly. Huh? It's a saying from one of our previous Hokage. That's the path of a shinobi. We don't act solely for money, Kakashi explained. It seems you're almost fully recovered, stated Haku calmly. We'll begin our plan in the morning, said Zabuza. Understood. By the way, have you figured out how that blonde girl did that technique? No, not yet. Without understanding the method she used, it's difficult to develop a counter-strategy. I see. Then we'll need to make sure she doesn't get the opportunity to use it, Zabuza replied. So, you two finally made it back. How'd it go? Asked Kakashi as Sasuke entered, supporting Naruko with one arm draped over his shoulder. Huff. We did it. We reached the top, Naruko said between breaths. Good work. Starting tomorrow, you two will help with protecting Tazuna. After dinner, as Tsunami began washing the dishes, Inari stared at Naruko, who looked completely worn out from training. His expression became tense with frustration. What? Naruko asked, noticing his gaze. Bang! Inari hit the table, his voice rising. Why do you even try so hard? It's pointless anyway. Naruko responded, her patience thinning. Maybe you think that way, but not everyone does. Someone like Gato can't overpower a determined ninja or people who believe in protecting others. Yeah, right. You don't even understand what it's like here. You don't know what we've gone through, Inari shouted. That struck a chord. Naruko, who had lived through years of loneliness and misunderstanding, clenched her fists. So it's okay for you to act like no one else has been through hard times? Listen, you're not alone. A lot of people go through difficult things every day. You're not the only one, and it's not fair to dismiss others like that. Tears welling in his eyes, Inari turned and ran out the door, slamming it behind him. Naruko, that was uncalled for. You should go apologize, right? Sakura started, but Naruko interrupted her. You don't understand what it's like to be truly alone, so please, just don't lecture me right now. Everyone was surprised by Naruko's reaction as she quietly walked upstairs. I never expected that. I heard Naruko used to admire Sakura a lot, Kakashi thought to himself. But I suppose Inari's words hit a sensitive spot. He raised her voice at me? Why? What just happened? Sakura asked herself in confusion. Humph. Didn't think she had it in her to speak like that to Sakura, Sasuke thought. What was that about? It sounded like Naruko's gone through something really painful, Tazuna asked, clearly concerned. Yeah, what was that? And if she doesn't have a good reason, I'll definitely give her a piece of my mind, Sakura said, crossing her arms. Kakashi, choosing to leave out the more sensitive parts of Naruko's past, began to explain. Well, it depends on how you look at it. But I'd say Naruko has gone through more than most children her age. Seeing the confusion on their faces, he continued. Naruko has spent most of her life alone. She's not exactly well liked in the village, and because of that, she's never had many friends. Even now, I'm not sure if she sees Sasuke or Sakura as friends either. But she seems so kind and energetic. Why would people treat her like that? Tsunami asked. Because she used to pull pranks around the village, Sakura chimed in. Kakashi gently corrected her. Naruko did that to be noticed. Before that, people ignored her entirely. She felt invisible, so she used pranks to make people acknowledge that she existed, that she was still there, trying to be part of something. I understand now. But that still doesn't explain everything, Tsunami said softly. Knowing he couldn't reveal the full truth, Kakashi offered a partial explanation. Naruko was found near the village the day after a terrible incident involving a powerful creature. Because of that timing, people associate her with that day, even though she had nothing to do with it. His explanation brought about mixed reactions. Sasuke remained quiet. Tazuna and Tsunami looked saddened, wishing they could offer Naruko some comfort. Sakura appeared regretful for her earlier assumptions. But what about her parents? Tsunami asked. As far as we know, she doesn't have any. No one came forward to care for her, and no one adopted her, Kakashi replied softly. Oh. A few minutes later, Kakashi sat with Inari, helping him understand why Naruko reacted the way she did. He gently explained that Naruko had grown strong, just like Inari's father Keiza, and that strength came from facing hardships with courage. The next morning, Kakashi and the rest of Team 7, minus Naruko who was resting from exhaustion, set out with Tazuna toward the bridge. Not long after they left, Naruko awoke and asked where the others had gone. Hearing they had already left, she quickly dressed and rushed out of the house, determined to catch up. As she moved swiftly through the trees, she heard a sound nearby and decided to investigate. She found a clearing with signs of struggle and a fallen boar. These marks look like they were made by a sword. Judging by the direction, whoever did this may be heading toward Mr. Tazuna's house. I need to hurry, she said, before leaping back into the trees and heading off. At the bridge, Tazuna and Team 7, still without Naruko, arrived to a troubling scene. The area looked abandoned, tools scattered, and some workers had collapsed from overwhelming fear and exhaustion. Tazuna rushed to one of them. Who did this? What happened here? A demon. The man muttered faintly before passing out from stress. So, they've already arrived, Kakashi thought grimly. Back at the house, Naruko arrived just in time to see Tsunami unconscious and Inari charging at the two wannabe samurai. Seeing that Inari was about to be harmed, Naruko decided to use the substitution jutsu. Twice. The first with Inari and the second with a log, which had a seal that the two swordsmen didn't notice. "Tease, a substitution," said the man with the bandana. The two of them turned around to see Naruko glaring at them. Just as they were about to charge, Naruko dropped a smoke bomb, causing the two swordsmen to stop their movements and raise their guard. While hidden in the smoke, Naruko seized the opportunity to use the Flying Raijin jutsu. Naruko appeared behind the two and grabbed their heads, slamming them together to knock them unconscious. Once the smoke cleared, Inari ran toward Naruko. "Wow, how'd you do that, Naruko? And how'd you know they were here?" Inari asked. "Ninjas have to keep their secrets, Inari. Anyway, I saw a boar and some trees all cut up, and they led to here. So I figured this place would come under attack, and I came to help." Hee. Naruko replied with a smile. "Anyway, Inari, I'm sorry for calling you a crybaby. You were really brave just now. Anyway, I have to go now, my team probably needs me. See you later." With that, Naruko ran toward the bridge. Sasuke was in a difficult spot, although it didn't start out that way. Sasuke managed to keep up and surpass Haku in speed, until Haku decided to use his secret jutsu, Crystal Ice Mirrors. Being surrounded by a dome of mirrors gave Haku a significant advantage. Sasuke had already figured out that the reflections in each mirror allowed him to move at high speeds, faster than his eyes could keep up with. Darn it! If only I had my Sharingan, I could read his moves, Sasuke thought. Suddenly, Sasuke heard his name being called and looked over to see a kunai thrown by Sakura in hopes of helping him. Unfortunately, Haku appeared from one of the mirrors and caught the kunai. "I'm sorry, but you won't be needing this," Haku said, just before a shuriken struck his mask, causing Haku to fall out of the mirror to the ground, leaving a gash on his mask. Haku stood up and looked around to see who had thrown the shuriken, but the culprit couldn't be seen. Where did that come from? It wasn't Kakashi or the girl. Zabuza would have said something about it by now. And it wasn't this boy either, since I had him in my sights. I see now, it's that other one. But where is she? Haku thought, trying to figure out Naruko's location. Grrr, that blonde kid is here. But where is she? Zabuza thought, frustrated by the interference. Is Naruko here or something? But if she is, where is she? Thought Sakura and Tazuna. Sigh, good job, Naruko. Just stay out of sight and keep distracting Haku, Kakashi thought, pleased that Naruko was using her head. Meanwhile, Naruko had been hiding in the mist, waiting for another opportunity to strike. She had some shadow clones under the bridge placing seals so she could move to a new spot at a moment's notice. Fortunately for her, the seals didn't disappear when her shadow clones dispersed, giving her an advantage. Every time she used a seal, she would replace it with another before attacking again, allowing her to strike without being caught. 10 minutes had passed since Naruko arrived, and things had certainly been eventful. Kakashi and Zabuza had started fighting, Haku and Sasuke resumed their battle, and Sakura was still protecting Tazuna. Zabuza had thickened the mist to hinder Naruko from helping Sasuke, but it wasn't working. Naruko knew Kakashi wouldn't fall for tricks like last time and would keep Zabuza too busy to target Tazuna. So, all she had to do was help Sasuke. Whenever Sasuke was under attack, Naruko would counter by throwing kunai and shuriken, hoping to hit Haku hard enough to stop him. Though she only managed to make small cuts to his clothes and skin, it was something. How does she have all those weapons? Anyone else would have run out long before now, Haku wondered. Of course, Sasuke was wondering the same thing, but didn't care at the moment since Naruko's support was keeping him safe. Naruko knew she would run out of weapons eventually, so every time she threw something, she used the Flying Raijin jutsu. To move along the path of her weapons, catch them, place a new seal, and move to a new spot. She repeated this process over and over. Hee. Man, that training Kakashi-sensei gave us really helped. I can use this jutsu almost as much as I want, Naruko thought, grateful for the tree climbing exercise. Haku was forced to adjust his tactics, noticing the average time it took for Naruko to attack. Over the next few minutes, he launched quicker and shorter attacks to give Naruko less time to strike. Fortunately for Haku, it was working. Now, he just needed to keep it up. Naruko was getting frustrated because she couldn't land a hit on Haku anymore. Every time she tried, Haku stopped her assault on Sasuke before she could throw her weapons. Darn it. I can't hit him anymore. I can't just throw before he attacks, or he'll just take my weapons and... That's it. Naruko thought, coming up with a plan. Naruko began placing seals on all her kunai and shuriken, not knowing which one Haku would grab. She waited for Haku to attack again, and once he did, she waited just a little longer. Naruko threw her kunai and shuriken, confident that Haku would stop them to make her run out of weapons. Sure enough, Haku did exactly that. Just then, Naruko added a smoke bomb into the mix. It went off just as Haku knocked a kunai with a seal on its handle. Once the smoke bomb went off, Naruko used the Flying Raijin jutsu. And grabbed Haku's left hand, delivering the hardest kick she could muster to his stomach. This sent Haku flying into one of his ice mirrors. However, instead of merging, he slammed against it, cracking it and knocking the wind out of him. No way, how did she do that? Sasuke thought. Hey, how did you do that, loser? Sasuke asked. Now is not the time to worry about that, Sasuke, Naruko said, as she grabbed him. Naruko dropped her last smoke bomb and disappeared from the dome. Without Naruko, Sasuke would have been affected by the side effects of the jutsu. Okay, now we're outside the dome. You okay, Sasuke? Yeah. But why didn't you get me out of there earlier? We could have avoided all of that, Sasuke replied, finally getting his footing under the bridge. I didn't really think of that. Probably because he would have tried to trap us both in that ice dome if I did, Naruko explained, offering the best reason she could. Anyway, that jutsu must have taken up quite a bit of chakra, so we should try and finish him now without getting caught in that dome. Humph, the loser has a point for once. Guess there's a first time for everything, Sasuke muttered. Right, just don't get in my way, loser. Just back me up. What do you think I've been doing this whole time, you idiot? Waiting around sipping tea? Naruko hissed. Whatever, let's go. Whenever Naruko was about to follow him, she noticed Sasuke's eyes were different. They were glowing red like Kakashi's Sharingan, but in both eyes instead of just one. And instead of 3 comma marks in them, the right eye had 2 while the left eye had 1. Shrugging it off for now, Naruko followed after Sasuke. Back on top, Haku had changed tactics with his jutsu since the dome no longer had any use. Haku released most of the mirrors and spread the rest around the area, hoping to catch his 2 opponents when they returned. He didn't have to wait long, as he saw Sasuke come back on top of the bridge. He waited to see both of them before he struck, and just a few seconds later, Naruko came up. He took his chance to strike, but not before Sasuke saw him coming. Sasuke saw Haku rushing toward them at a very high speed, or rather after Naruko. Turning around and seeing that Naruko hadn't noticed the oncoming attack, Sasuke jumped in the way, taking the attack meant for Naruko. After absorbing the attack, Sasuke retaliated by grabbing Haku and throwing him back the way he came. Thud Sasuke, Naruko yelled, seeing Sasuke hit the ground. Dropping to her knees and picking him up, she asked, Why? Why did you save me? I didn't need your help.
I don't know.
My body just moved on its own.
My brother is still out there. I said I'd never give up until I find him.
Don't you give up, Naruko, Sasuke said as he fell unconscious. A few moments passed before Haku spoke. He risked his own life to save yours, knowing it was a trap. Is this the first time you've seen someone risk so much for you? I'm sure it must be difficult for you, but this is the life of a shinobi. Shut up. I won't forgive you, Naruko said, her anger swelling as the 9 tails chakra surrounded her. What's that? Is that Kakashi? No, it's much too strong to be him, Zabuza thought. Oh, this isn't good. The seal is loosening, I need to act fast, Zabuza thought. Kakashi, We're both busy, so how about we use one last move? Winner takes all, he said, ready to end it. Interesting. Alright, the faster I stop you, the faster I can protect my team, Kakashi replied. What? Chakra shouldn't be visible, but I can see it clearly. What is that girl? Haku thought, realizing he was in serious trouble now. Standing up, Naruko immediately charged toward Haku. Haku tried dodging, but to no avail. Naruko was moving far too fast for him. Landing a powerful punch to Haku's face, Naruko sent him flying. As Haku tried to get up, Naruko charged again. Haku's mask cracked and fell to pieces at his feet. Naruko stopped herself just before her fist connected, seeing that it was the boy she had met in the woods under the mask. She asked, "So that boy in the woods, that was you?" From there, Haku explained his life story to Naruko, how his father had treated him poorly, how he had been abandoned by everyone except for Zabuza. "Naruko, I want you to end my suffering." "What? No. There has to be another way." Naruko protested. "There isn't. I am just a tool to Zabuza. Please, end it," Haku replied. Hesitant, Naruko pulled out her kunai and rushed toward Haku, ready to end it quickly. It wasn't looking good for Zabuza. He was pinned down by Kakashi's ninja hounds, and worse, Kakashi was right in front of him, holding lightning in his palm. "This time, you won't escape, Zabuza. I guarantee it," Kakashi said as he began charging up. Sensing that Zabuza was in danger, Haku caught Naruko's armed hand and said, "I'm sorry, but there is one more thing I can do for Zabuza." With a few quick hand signs, Haku disappeared. Assuming she understood, Naruko used the Flying Raijin jutsu, thanks to the seal she had placed on Haku earlier when she first kicked him. Kakashi was surprised when Haku suddenly appeared before him, shielding Zabuza. But what startled him even more was when Naruko appeared, kicking Haku in the head and sending him flying away from Kakashi's target, Zabuza. Naruko used the force of her kick to fall in the opposite direction, allowing Kakashi to strike his target just before the ninja hounds disappeared, as the scroll Kakashi used to summon them had been pierced by Senbone. Haku was sent flying into the side of the bridge, hitting the wall with his head and knocking him unconscious. How did she get here so fast? Damn it. It must have been her secret jutsu, and I completely missed it. How could I miss it, especially when it happened right in front of me? Sigh. Oh well, Zabuza is defeated, and the boy is unconscious, Kakashi thought to himself before hearing someone new approach. Well, looks like they failed again. Oh well, at least the rest of them are weakened, said Gato, arriving with 50 armed men at his side. Gato. So, he's finally here? Kakashi said, his voice tired. With him alive and me worn out as I am, this is going to be tough. Kakashi thought quickly but knew he was nearly out of chakra. Naruko? Kakashi looked around and saw Naruko picking up her supply of weapons, near the spot where the ice mirror dome once stood. Kakashi was about to speak when Naruko returned to his side, but she was interrupted. Hey, you in the orange outfit. Is that boy still alive? Gato called out, pointing toward Haku. Yeah, what's it to you? Naruko asked, standing firm. I want you to bring him over here so I can teach that punk a lesson for breaking my arm, Gato demanded. Naruko, that's Gato, Kakashi started, but was interrupted by Naruko. Yeah, I figured that much, sensei. Alright, listen up, Kakashi said, looking at Naruko. I don't have much chakra left. I need you to use that secret jutsu of yours to at least incapacitate those men, and I'll handle Gato. You mean stop him? Naruko asked. Kakashi nodded. Did you see the jutsu? She asked again. Kakashi shook his head. Do you have any smoke bombs, Kakashi-sensei? Confused, Kakashi nodded and handed her the 15 smoke bombs. Seems like Naruko isn't quite ready to show us her jutsu, Kakashi thought, but decided not to press it. Oh well, it doesn't matter right now. Taking the smoke bombs, Naruko told Kakashi her plan. Don't worry, sensei, I'll handle Gato. He's just a coward who's been causing all this trouble, and it's because of him that Sasuke's hurt. The statement caused a gasp from Sakura, who had approached Naruko to ask about Sasuke. Sakura, along with Tazuna, quickly made their way to Sasuke's side to check on him. Ha! What can a little kid do against a bunch of fully armed bandits? Gato taunted. Naruko, without hesitation, jumped high into the air, throwing nearly all of her weapons and smoke bombs at the group. The smoke bombs blocked Kakashi's view of the situation, and when they exploded, Naruko used her Flying Raijin jutsu to disable the entire group, including Gato. Once the smoke cleared, Kakashi looked around and saw Naruko standing amidst the fallen bandits, her clothes splattered with some of their residue. Could it be? No, it can't be. That jutsu was thought to be lost forever. But how is she able to use it? Kakashi wondered, beginning to piece together how Naruko had been able to do so much in such a short time. Naruko walked back toward Kakashi but suddenly stopped, dropping her kunai and rushing to the edge of the bridge, where she began to feel overwhelmed. I wonder how long she would hold up, Kakashi thought. This isn't going to be easy for her. She's never had to do something like this before. I just hope she doesn't take it the wrong way. Footsteps rapidly approached Kakashi, and he turned to see the people from the land of waves. Inari was the first to reach him. Inari, what's wrong? Kakashi asked. Inari, what happened to Naruko? Is she sick? Inari asked with concern. No, you see the people over there? Kakashi pointed toward the defeated bandits. Yeah, what about them? Inari asked, confused. They're all gone. And Gato is among them. It was Naruko who handled them, Kakashi explained, prompting shocked gasps from Inari and Tsunami. This was Naruko's first time facing something like this, and it's difficult for her to accept that it was necessary. She wanted to protect everyone and avenge Sasuke's injury, and she saw Gato as the cause of all this suffering. Kakashi then approached Naruko, who was still processing everything. Naruko, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked you to do that alone. I just wanted to let you know that. I know, Kakashi-sensei, Naruko interrupted. I won't hold it against you. I just don't like having to hurt others. I understand, Kakashi replied. But sometimes you might have to fight to protect the ones you care about. I know, sensei. I'll only fight when it's for the right reasons, Naruko said confidently. That's good. Now, let's go check on Sakura, Kakashi said with a small smile. As they turned to leave, they heard Sakura's voice calling out, Hey, everyone, look. Sasuke's alright. He's awake. Kakashi sighed in relief. That's a relief. Don't you think, Naruko? Yeah, that's great, Naruko said, with a small smile. Oh, I need to check on Haku. Later at Tazuna's house, Haku had just woken up and was sitting quietly in the living room. Naruko, please. End my suffering. I have nothing to live for, Haku said softly. What? Why would you want that? Sakura asked, taken aback. Zabuza is gone, and my purpose was to serve him. But now, without him, I'm lost, Haku replied sadly. Sakura turned to Kakashi for guidance, and Kakashi spoke up. Haku, Zabuza's goal was to stop the bloodline purge. He fought for people like you, and now that he's gone, it's up to you to carry on that dream. Haku looked uncertain. But I've lost my reason. What was his dream? Kakashi answered, Zabuza wanted to stop the injustice caused by the fourth Mizukage. He fought for people like Haku, who were oppressed because of their bloodline. He didn't say it outright, but I'm sure that's why he did everything he did. So he wasn't a bad person? Naruko asked thoughtfully. Then why not continue his dream? You could honor his memory by following his ideals and protecting those who need it. Everyone in the room looked at Naruko in surprise. That could be a good idea, she continued. What do you think, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi smiled and nodded. As long as Haku doesn't harm innocent people, I don't see why not. It could be a good way to move forward.
I suppose I could try.
But would it really be all right with all of you? Haku asked, uncertain. Of course, Naruko said with a reassuring smile. You might have hurt Sasuke, but he's all right now, and he won't hold a grudge. We can all move forward together. Who are you calling little? Sasuke chimed in with a weak smirk. I'm not that small. Are you sure about that? Naruko teased. Naruko, stop. Sakura interjected. Sasuke's still recovering. And so, the group continued their banter until it was time for dinner. A few days had passed, and Squad 7 was on their way back home. After Naruko's injuries had mostly healed, she decided to leave on her own. Once the bridge had been completed, and after an emotional farewell between Naruko and Inari, Squad 7 departed. Sakura had asked Sasuke on a date, but he declined. Naruko also tried, but was met with rejection, along with a playful punch to the back of the head. As Squad 7 entered the village, Kakashi spoke up, You all go ahead, I'll report to the Hokage. Understood, replied the team in unison. After parting ways, Naruko headed home, reflecting on everything that had happened. Sasuke risked his life for me. Maybe if I had told them from the start what I could do, things might have turned out differently. I should have trusted them more, but I can trust them now, as long as they keep my secret. But there's something I need to do. This mission showed me that life can be short, and I've been too cautious for too long. It's time I take a chance. Even if it doesn't work out, I'll at least know I tried. The next time I see Hinata, I'm going to ask her out and hope she can accept me, even with the 9 tails inside me. With that decision, Naruko finally felt ready to face the future, knowing she had to be brave, no matter the outcome. And that wraps up this part, folks. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss out on upcoming videos. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you in the next one. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.